Hey, so I know technically you didn't ask for instructional videos, but I'm always a visual learner, so I like to work with visuals, and you get to see my beautiful face. But anyways, so we're going to be making your biscuits, so, you can get your move on. So, first things first, you're going to want a sifter. I have, Meemaw's sifter here, but, you can use just a traditional sifter or any other sieve type deal. Hold on, let me see if I can find you one. Right here. Something like this will also work just fine. Just make sure you have a spoon so you can mash up the little bits. But anyways, this is going to be a little bit big, so let's see here. We're going to be working on this as a group. So the first things you want to do is you want to get your 2 cups here sifted. We're going to go in a cup. We're going to go in order. So we're going to go with the dry. You want to go dry, fat, and then wet. So you're going to start here with your 1 cup and 2 cups. And this is white lily flour, so I'm going to show you the logo real quick so you can kind of get a memory for it. Don't worry about making a mess. You actually want some of this flour on the counter later, so don't worry about it. It'll be all right. This is your white lily flour. That's kind of what it does. It also actually has a recipe on the back. I don't recommend using it. It's not my favorite. But then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get the sifting. Now with mine, it's got a little hand crank right here. And so it works pretty efficiently. The point of this part of the process is to get any large lumps where the moisture clung to the bits or there was static electricity and it forced everything to kind of stick together. You want all that gone. Now, this, all being the self-rising flour that it is, already has salt built in, so we're not worried about that. You can add a little sugar if you're going for a sweet one, but we're just going to go for plain today. Now, I am using lard. This is 4 ounces. I measured it out of lard, and we're also using buttermilk. Should be able to find a quart of it just about anywhere. So I mean, I'm not too worried about you being unable to find the buttermilk. So you're gonna go in with about 4 ounces of lard, not too much. I know 4 ounces sounds like a lot, but it's 4 tablespoons if you're unfamiliar. Weight just is a little bit easier to work with. Now, obviously you should have washed your hands before you worked, but this is going to be a really important part why you need to wash your hands, because you're going to get into the dough with your hands. You can use a spoon for this part, but I prefer to go in with my hands because I feel I can work it a little better. So you're going to go in and just kind of in a kneading motion, pinching your fingers together, rolling and turning like that. You're going to want to get all that flour and the lard in this case, or butter or margarine. For super tender ones, I would go margarine. For more flaky, I would go butter, especially cold butter. And if you do butter or try to go for a flaky route, make sure to use big chunks and don't let it fully mix in. Now, when I sent you the recipe, I said to mix until it makes sort of a coarse grain texture. And that is correct. Basically, what I'm doing in this is, to explain the science, at least, of it, what I'm doing in this is I'm going to be taking the flour itself and coating each part of the flour in a little bit of fat, so that when the water is added and the proteins begin to denature to make gluten, there is actually a barrier in between it, and it produces less gluten. It's common. Don't worry about it. So, and it yields a more tender recipe. It's the same thing you do with shortbread cookies or anything that you just don't want to be very tough or chewy. Biscuits, at least in the South, are naturally quite tender. So now I'm taking these and I'm noticing some bigger chunks, so I'm just rubbing them between my hands. And this just gets me to a nice coarse meal texture. Hold on, let me see if I can bring this up to speed with you. Make sure to get everything off your fingers, or at least as best you can. It's still gonna be messy, don't worry about it. Gotta get a little messy in the kitchen sometimes, but sort of that coarse meal texture. If there are big chunks, don't worry about it, because that's just the lard kind of clumping together with the flour. But you can kind of see it's a very coarse meal texture there. So that's kind of what you're aiming for. So now that I've got my flour and my fat mixed together, I'm gonna add my buttermilk. And I'm gonna do about a cup of buttermilk. So, with buttermilk, pints a pound are rolled around. You're gonna do technically a pint of buttermilk, but one cup also works. 8 ounces is a pound, is a pint. And you're just gonna mix it together. Now this is gonna be pretty loose. Some biscuit doughs are gonna be a little bit neater, some are gonna be less so, but this is a looser dough. Don't worry about it being real liquidy or none. You just gonna mix until it just starts to come together. Until it doesn't look like there's a lot of liquid around anymore. And if it looks a little wet, you can always add a little extra flour. Be careful when you're adding your flour, because you don't want to do too much. Like mine looks a little wet right now, so I'm going to add just a touch of extra flour to get it kind of more combined here. And there we go. And it's still very loose. It's still very tacky, but that's okay. Because what we're going to do is we're going to take a good portion of our flour here, and we're going to dust our surface with it. Now, obviously, you know why it won't stick to the flour. It's just a barrier. It doesn't like moisture, so it doesn't hang on to it. And so we're going to take that, and we're going to dump this out. Now you want to do this a couple of times, but be very careful about how many times you do it. So, dump this out onto your workspace. A lot of people would call this drop biscuit consistency, but I just call this good biscuit consistency. Drop biscuits are a variation where you make a looser dough, but you just take it and you literally drop it into the pan by like a spoon or a disher. So it's supposed to be a little bit simpler. Now you want to be liberal with the flour on the outside because it is sticky. It is a sticky dough. So take it, make sure to get some flour around the outside, pat it out, and just fold it over. You want to do this maybe 2 or 3 times, adding flour as needed. Just to get it to kind of all come together as a whole. Now you see it's kind of sticking to the bottom here. I've got a dough scraper here. This will be important. You want to make sure that it is not sticking to any part of this process, because you are going to have to get it off of this counter. And trust me, as somebody who has experienced it, it is a pain in the butt to get it off the counter when it is sticking. And when I say that, I imply that it stays in one piece, because, you know, you're making biscuits, not nothing burgers or something. I don't know. So I've pretty much gotten mine out to the consistency that I want. I'm going to go to about yay thickness. I'm pumping mine out into a square because, like I said, I'm not using a biscuit cutter today, because I figured, you know, why not? Got to be inclusive. So I always go with 2 knuckles. From the tip of your finger to that middle knuckle there. For me, that's about 1 inch. For others, it may not be. But also, I just like to do 1 by 1 squares whenever I'm doing these. Or, well, hold on now. I may be tripping here. Sorry, they're 2 inches. 2x1 squares. 1x1 squares would be tiny. And Lord knows we can eat. Be very quick and precise about it. And there's your biscuit. And then basically you just want to be at the same pace the whole time. Drop and drag. Get a little bit of flour on there. I've got a ruler on my thing, so that's why it looks like I'm doing like quick math. But it's my biscuit cutter has a little bit of has a ruler on it, so I'm not too worried about my size in here being off. Obviously, for those of you who don't have a biscuit cutter with a ruler on it, you can always just eyeball it, or do it with your soul and trust in the Lord, as my grandma would say. There you go. You're going to get fairly even pieces. That's what you want. I need a little more flour on this. Hold on. It's going to look like it's about to fall apart. That's exactly what you want, because that's what it's going to do in your mouth. It's going to fall apart in your mouth, and it's going to be delicious. And, ooh, that one got a little messed up. You can reshape it a little bit. Just don't try to fold it anymore. And it's going to feel real tender. But that's exactly what you're going for. A lot of people get scared of biscuits because they are just that tender. Trust me, if a grandma with Parkinson's can do it right, you can too. So don't be afraid of the biscuit, for it can smell your fear. And it is not afraid to capitalize on it. I always say that about 2 things, about knives and about food. Food, and if you are afraid of your food, you will not make good food. You must be confident in what you are doing and confident in how you are doing it. Trust me, that is your most important trait in the kitchen. It's confidence. So, now that we've gotten these all cut up, we are going to put them onto a pan. And the way that I'm going to layer them is so they are touching edge to edge. Because, and you say, well, why? Simply because we want them to grow together. So with biscuits, they rise, obviously, but you don't want them to rise. If you want to get a more even rise, you're gonna basically want to just stick them edge to edge, shoulder to shoulder, like they're hugging. They're having a great time. They don't realize what they're about to do. Their fates have been sealed. They don't understand the trap these poor souls are being lured into. Regardless, they're gonna look a little funky right now, but that's okay. I mean, biscuits ain't never looked perfect in my life. So now here's the big important part. Take your thumb, push it in a good halfway. Don't be shy with it. Like I said, they can smell fear. If your thumb sticks, just take a little flour and dip it on your thumb. Now, the reason why I'm doing this is so that you get a more even rise. You don't end up with a domed top. Now, if you like that domed top, go for it. But with us, we value a good flat biscuit. Now, you're going to want your oven at, I go 475, but do 450. It's a safer temperature. And I don't really know at the time. I'm going to be honest, I just eyeball it. So I can't really tell you there. It's generally around 10 to 12 minutes. It depends on the oven. Just go until they're golden on top. Brush them with a little butter and you're good. Brush them with a little butter after though. Now I will edit this recording so that you'll see them after they're done baking. But I'm going to be out for now. All right, so in theory, it's been about 15, 16 minutes, and your biscuits are a nice, very, very light golden color. This means they're done. They should be fully cooked all the way through, very nice and tender, very moist. They're gonna look a little rough, but that's what gives them character. Also, you're gonna be eating these. These are like a Homestyle recipe. They're not gonna be looking perfect. If you were gonna sell these, you're gonna want more flour to make a stiffer dough, but it's gonna be less tender. And you're gonna also end up with, sorry, I had to turn off the oven. And you're also gonna end up with something a little bit different in texture as well, because you're gonna use a circle cutter. But these are just traditional, they're about an inch thick or so. They rose pretty okay. But I'm gonna poke one, and sort of like and you'll see here actually, so you can see where I still made the indent, but it's very clear the indent has risen up. And you can go a little light on the indent and it'll make a perfectly flat one, but the indent doesn't change anything. It doesn't change flavor, it doesn't change texture. All it does is its looks. So what I like to do is I like to take a fork and split this in half. And now these are still hot, and this is when I would kind of recommend having one. That's kind of what they look like on the inside. I'm gonna see if I can maybe get a close up for you. It's a very tender crumb, very soft texture, barely holds itself together. Now, what I recommend, especially with lard ones, I take a little butter here. This is a higher butter fat content butter, so it's creamier. But literally any butter will do. This is just me being weird, and also it's the only butter I have in the house right now. Why do I have a higher butter fat content butter in the house? Because it makes for better pastries. You want to be able to kind of take that butter, and what I do is I sandwich it and I let it sit out for a while until it's nice and melted in there. And I take honey. This is it looks like a wine bottle. You'll see what it looks like on the inside. This is like my fancy honey. This is a very expensive bottle of honey. I really like it. I'm a honey fiend. I love bees. Bees are really cool. That's just me. Don't worry about not having, bougie honey, right? Literally any honey will do just fine. I just am a honey freak, and this is the best honey that I have. So, I'm gonna uncork it real quick here. And I'm just gonna drizzle a little bit on there. And of course, if you have like pre-made honey butter, that'll work. I just like the two different textures. Just a little bit of honey dribbled on there. Sorry if this is taking so long. There we go. And there you have it. Honey butter biscuit. Sandwich it together. Tender, just salty enough, soft. It's a perfect savory biscuit. If you want a sweeter biscuit, just add sugar. If you're trying to do something like a traditional southern strawberry shortcake, which does use a biscuit, you're going to use sugar in the recipe. But anyways, I hope this video helped. I'm going to get to work on demolishing these. And you have a wonderful day.